mysteries of creation are there. In the sky. Up in the sky. The moon and the planets are there. And new hopes for knowledge and peace are there.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to your Inner Journey Weather Report for the week of February 7th to February 13th, February 14th, Valentine's Day. And this is your Inner Journey Weather Report, where we utilize archetypal astrology to understand the energies around us, arising around us in the collective and arising within us. And we understand how those energies can inform our inner journeys and how our inner journeys can in turn transform those energies in the collective and arising within us. I'm James Moran, archetypal astrologer, and we'll get into it today. Actually, before we look at the specific energies arising this week, in honor of Mercury retrograde, let's back up a little bit and talk about specifically why, from the astrological perspective, one of the reasons why inner journeys are so important. Inner journey can be any inward investigation. That's meditation, yoga, psychedelic journey, dream work, art therapy, any sort of exploration of the realm within. And so one of the reasons utilizing archetypal astrology that inner journeys are so important for our own psychospiritual health and the psychospiritual health of our collective has to do with the symbolism of the sun and the moon in archetypal astrology. So the sun and the moon, the actual physical sun and the moon, when we look at the sun is the center of the solar system, and it is the physical body that enlivens the solar system. It's also the central hub that holds the solar system together, and also the central point from which radiates out life force energy that vitalizes the solar system. And in the symbolism, astrological symbolism of the sun, has to do with the central sense of identity that holds us together, the I, the me, the hub that holds together our lives. We have a sense that I have an I, a me, my name. And also, just as when the sun arises in the daytime, everything comes to light. Everything becomes we become conscious and aware of everything because everything comes to the light of day. So similarly, the sun, the symbolism of the sun is associated with our awareness, our conscious awareness, and also our conscious will, that which brings things to light in our life so that we feel we understand them, we are clear. And the sun is also associated with the sense of purpose, sense of life purpose, that we also, a sense of agency, because when when the sun rises in the morning, we can step out of our house and we can see where we're going. We can have a sense of agency. We can feel vitalized by the sun, and we can feel that we step out into our interface with the world, and we can step into our life purpose. The symbolism of the sun, the symbolism of the moon has to do with the moon is more visible at night using the reflected light of the sun. The moon is more visible at night. Night is the time when things are more dark, they're more relative. There's not as much clarity there. And the moon has to do, just as the moon at night guides us and lights our way and lights up with the light of the sun, the moon is associated with the vessels that contain the life force of the sun when we're referring to life. So the moon, the actual physical moon in the sky, is the closest body to us, the closest celestial body to us on this planet. And so similarly, the moon is associated with that which is so close to us that it's almost hard to see sometimes because it's so close to us. And it's also associated with the vessels that hold the life force. So if the sun is the vitalizing force, the vessels that hold the life force would be, for instance, the body. The body is the vessel that holds our life force within it. When our life force leaves, the body doesn't leave necessarily. It sticks around for a while and then decays. But we can see that, oh, this was a vessel that held the life force. Similarly, when a baby's born, it's not independent yet. It doesn't immediately go and move into its own place and have its own career. It hasn't individuated yet. The baby is born into a fabric of a vessel, of a support net that's known as the family. That is the support structure and the kind of the vessel which holds the life and supports that dependent life of the child. That's very lunar. So the body is very lunar. The family is very lunar. Going out from there, we have the community. We are nestled, embedded in a larger vessel that holds the life force of the community, the state, the nation, the ecosystem, the planet. These are all nestled circles of increasingly widening concentric circles of support vessels that hold the life force energy. These are all lunar. And so the lunar energy and the solar energy and the balance between the two are very important for our psychospiritual health. The reason being that the moon is associated with our connection to life. We cannot connect and be embodied in life unless we have a vessel through which to do that, unless we have a body, unless we have a connection to others, an emotional, relational fabric of which we are a part. And even our own emotions are a system within us, a lunar system with its own balances and its own kind of self-regulating characteristics. So even connecting to ourselves, we need the moon. What happens though is that the moon is associated with oftentimes that which is so close to us that it becomes unconscious, and it becomes a sort of fabric that holds us down and holds us within behavior patterns. What's associated with the moon, besides the family, the body, the community, the earth, is also the childhood and the mother. So the childhood is associated with the moon, and the mother is associated with the moon. The mother is easy to see as being associated with the moon because we're all born from mothers, and we all were unified within the mother. So the mother was actually the physical system that, with its womb, that held us. And then we get born from that into our own body, but we are part of the mother. So that's the lunar system that holds the life force energy. And when we're born, there's a sense of great pressure and being pressed out of the birth canal. And there can be a sense of that the lunar energy is placing great weight on us, and it can feel we can store memories in our tissues of a sense that the lunar energy is kind of a heavy pressurizing energy. And of course, that's actually all in service of us being born we have to go through a thin portal in order to expand out into a wider life being here in the world. And similarly, when we die, we go through another portal into another wider expression that we don't know of yet. And it's similarly, so the body at that time becomes a kind of like a narrow passage. As it dies, we enter out into, something else. And so the moon is associated with that. We kind of have an unconscious association there of the moon with being born, being linked to a system in which we are embedded in a system, the womb, but then we get pressed out of that womb and ejected from that womb. There's a lot of symbolism in different stories and religions and traditions. The Garden of Eden, for instance, the rejection from the Garden of Eden, the place where all needs are taken care of, and then there's a sense of rejection. So there can be a sense that there is a kind of a rejection, or that we are nestled in we are nestled and taken care of, and then we get rejected. But actually we're not getting rejected. We grew too big for that system to hold. We weren't meant to stick around in the womb anymore. We were meant to go into a larger, expansive experience. And so that is actually still the lunar. That's a larger context, a larger lens that we can place upon the lunar system, is that within the lunar system we grow. We're nestled in a system, we grow. We have to exit that system and go into a new system and grow. And like that, cycles of the moon, just like cycles of lunar systems, just like we see the cycles of the moon. It grows, it shrinks, it grows, it shrinks. So another association with the moon is that when we're in childhood, when we leave the womb and we become embedded into a relational system of family, and just relational system with other humans, we need to keep that relational fabric close and tethered to us, because we're children, somewhat helpless. And so we very much rely on that fabric of social connection to feel connected to life, and also to feel that we can survive. That's part of our inbuilt survival mechanisms from early evolution. And so what we do is we generally speaking, most humans alter their behavior and contour their behavior in childhood to try to end up in a situation that will guarantee an emotional connection, that will guarantee an emotional continuation of emotional social fabric of connection. Because the lunar side is so sensitive that it is very sensitive to, even when we're children, just like when we're children, we're very soft, and we're emotionally soft too, and we're very emotionally dependent. So the lunar side is very emotionally dependent, very soft. And so it can feel the slightest little tremors in that emotional fabric that kind of can portend of any type of disconnection from that emotional social connection that we need so much. So we contour our own behaviors. We start playing roles. Most humans do this. We start playing roles as children, and even into older years, we start to play roles, not because we want to play roles, but because our inbuilt instincts for survival think that that's going to guarantee the sense of connection that we need to survive and that we need to feel connected to life. And then as we grow older, that behavior pattern becomes a behavior pattern, playing a role. That behavior pattern is so close to us, just like our body is so close to us, just like the moon is the closest celestial body to us, that we can become unaware of it. We can't really see it. We just feel that, just like when the baby goes through the birth canal and they feel like there's pressure on them and they don't know what's happening. They feel that they're being crushed. They don't know that they're being born, actually. So also we can feel that there's these behavior patterns that are really keeping us down, keeping us stuck on a level, and we want to be free of that pressure. And so, and it can keep us locked into relational patterns with family members, with friends, with coworkers, with different people in our lives, with ourselves, with our own emotions, our emotional patterns. And so the sense there is that because it's so close, because it can be so unconscious, that we can't see it. We just feel trapped by it. We feel it's heavy, but we can't quite locate it. Kind of like at night, things aren't clear, it's dark. And we want to be free of that thing, but we don't know quite how, because we can't see it because it's so close to us. And it's so lunar, it's so subjective, it's so associated with the night. It doesn't have clarity. So in that sense, what we want to do is we want to bring the awareness of the sun, the light of the sun, into the situation, because the light of the sun brings with it a connotation of becoming aware of the behavior patterns that we are enacting. And when we become aware of them, they rise. We can see them, like in the daylight. You know, if you're trapped in a maze of like a topiary maze, a maze of bushes or something at night, and you just don't know like how to get out. But then in the light of day, it's like you can see. Okay. So similarly, when we engage the light of the sun, we can feel that, we can see, we can understand, oh, this is what happened. This was what happened in childhood. This is what happened in my subconscious behavior patterning, conditioning. And when it comes to light, that's the freedom right there. We can see that, oh, this isn't me now. This is something that was just a behavior pattern that I took up. It was an imprint, emotional imprint that happened years ago that, you know, it's in the past. What's in the past, it's gone. So that's with bringing in the light of the sun, light of consciousness. And then with that comes a sense of agency. And with that sun and that solar sense of understanding, then the moon, we get to experience the side of the moon that is it's when the moon, when we are not so kind of entangled, confused, not clear, when the moon is more in the dark, and if we're not clear about our own behavior patterns and emotional conditioning, the lunar side can feel very oppressive. And there's a lot of ways that this gets enacted out in individuals and in society, projected onto women, that women have to be controlled or suppressed or oppressed, when actually it's our own wrestling with our own lunar conditioning that, nothing, there's nothing, trying to suppress the lunar outside is not going, or control it, is not going to help us control our own behavior patterns. Our own behavior patterns will be released from them when they come to the light of consciousness and awareness. And so throughout history, we can see this. I was recently reading the Iliad, Homer's Iliad, and there's just fierce, kind of just really raw suppression, oppression of the lunar, of the feminine, and it's not a path of satisfaction for anybody involved. And so we can actually develop an appreciation for the moon, an appreciation for the lunar, an appreciation for the feminine, if there's that balance, bringing in the light of the sun, bringing in the awareness and seeing like, oh, these are the sides of ourselves that our own emotional system was keeping us limited because of these sides of ourselves that we hadn't yet brought to the light of awareness and let go of. And then we can feel that, oh, we actually now feel a connection to life. And that's the lunar, that's the beauty of the lunar. We can feel like, wow, I feel connected to my body. I feel connected to others. I feel connected to life. I feel like I belong. And that's the lunar energy of our own selves being honored and being brought into a good place and a good balance between the sun and the moon. So I wanted to give a little bit of in honor of Mercury retrograde, which we're in right now. I wanted to give a little bit of a retrospective about inner journeys from the astrological perspective, one perspective from one of many, from the astrological lens, archetypal astrology lens, for understanding why inner journeys. And then just to complete the thought, inner journeys are a chance to actually go within and bring the light of awareness in within, and to see like, oh, this is the landscape. This is the emotional landscape within. This is my behavior patterns. This is why I was acting in the ways that I were. And this is why I don't need to act these ways anymore. I can be free. Great. Weight lifted off of me. And with that lifting of that weight, I get to feel the beautiful experience of lunar connection to life, sense of belonging. Wow. Something that is so much our birthright, but is somewhat rare, hopefully to be less rare as we evolve as a species, but something that is just, to actually just feel okay in our skin and connected with life and connected with beingness and manifest and having being embodied. That's the beautiful lunar and solar balance there. So with that, let's get into a little bit more details about what energies are up this week. And I'll do that by sharing my screen here with you. Okay. So let's look at this week here, what energies are up. We are in, this is Archetypal Explorer, the program known as Archetypal Explorer. And it helps us understand what energies are up this at any point in time. So we've got Saturn square Uranus. These are outer planet transits. I spoke about this one last week. That's probably the biggest energy that's up right now. Whatever lines are near the top of the graph are the ones that are more active. They're more close to exactitude of alignment, and they reflect the energies that are most salient right now. So Saturn square Uranus, it's got descriptions down here, positive ways it can show up: harmonious synthesis of the impulse for change and the impulse for order. Okay. Challenging manifestations, disruption of the status quo, upsets, mistakes, structural destabilization. So this This energy here is something that we want to engage internally in our inner journeys, that there's a kind of an inner revolution that can happen between structures, Saturn, and Uranus, the archetype of freedom, so that we can rearrange the structures inside so that they allow us more freedom within ourselves. And that is a good contribution to the larger world. When we engage the energies within ourselves, we're helping out the collective. Other transits happening this week. We have Mercury square Mars on Wednesday, becoming very exact. Again, Archetypal Explorer has the qualities listed here. So increased mental energy, mental sharpness as positive qualities, challenges, speeding up of mental activity to uncomfortable levels. That's Mercury square Mars. Later on in the week, though, we have Mercury square Venus, which is a bit of a kind of a remedial energy to that Mercury square Mars. So positive thinking and communicating about love. It's a softening of the communicative. Venus softens, Mars makes active, but Venus softens. Mercury has to do with communication. So softening the communication, ease of talking about love, beauty, tendency to express love. And this is great because this is happening around Valentine's Day. So that's great for all of us. Challenging side of it is that you might see superficial socializing, sweet talking, the silver tongue, over concern with social niceties. So that's one that you might see in places like on commercials and stuff, where the saccharine sweetness begins to become superficial. And interesting, it's happening right around Valentine's Day. What else do we have? We have Venus conjunct Jupiter on Thursday and Friday, and also some on Saturday and Sunday, but that's great for Valentine's Day as well. Positive qualities of that combination, Venus, like we said, associated with the heart, Jupiter associated with abundance. So we've got positive, rewarding qualities, joyful love, feelings of happiness, generosity, amiability, affectionate friendliness. Challenges can be romantic or sensuous overindulgence, like too many sweets, too many chocolates, eating too many chocolates, excessive desire to be wildly admired and loved. How do we engage this in inner journeys, even if we're, engaging in the outer world? Is that one way to do it is just note that these planets reflect archetypes arising within us. And so we can just appreciate, we can see there's a lot of fanfare around love, Venus conjunct Jupiter. If there's a lot of silver tongue, a lot of talking in a sweet way, Mercury conjunct Venus, that's fine. We'll just see it. We'll see both sides of it, and we'll realize that the archetypes are at play now, and we're all part of one harmonious, our archetypal orchestration and beautiful kind of symphony and choreography. And that itself is a kind of a Mercury Venus way of looking at it, because we're perceiving Mercury, thinking and perceiving in a way that's very harmonious, Venus. And so Archetypal Explorer here, I'm going to include a link so that you can check it out and you can have a free trial. It also gives you the ability to look at your own transits at this time. That's what I pulled up here. So where did the world transits land in your chart, in your personal chart? How do they show up for you personally? Like for me, midweek, I have Sun squared Jupiter. Transit qualities, rewarding side, personal expansion and elevation, growth, happiness, success, recognition. Challenging qualities, inordinately expansive impulses without adequate grounding. So now I'm aware of that. I can kind of just be aware and just go through that midweek with just kind of like an informed sense. I have Mercury opposite Saturn towards the end of the week. Transit qualities, good mental organization and realistic outlook. Challenge can be difficulty in communications and mental rigidity. So I just want to be aware of that. So this is Archetypal Explorer. I'm going to include the link. And for those of you that want to understand the deep emotional conditioning inside yourself, like we talked about at the beginning of the video, how you can actually bring the light of awareness into your own being and your own background, your own lunar side, and the whole depth that's revealed in your birth chart. And bringing that to the light of awareness frees us to be our real, authentic energy, free of limiting emotional conditioning. And if you'd like to engage in that, I'm going to include a link to signing up for an archetypal astrology reading with myself. And so thank you so much for joining me here. If you have questions, write them in the comments of this YouTube video, and I'll see if I can answer them next week. Again, thank you. And to your beautiful unfolding, and inner freedom.